Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah. So the situation is coming up again about Walis, Wakils, their rights, and things like that. So a person had contacted me. I'm not going to say they was confused about it, but what they was being told didn't make sense as far as the maternal men in the family and the paternal men in the family, and the order. So I'm going to kind of break down. I guess I'm going to say the stuff that some people won't say and won't explain, because they had this thing where your modern day 9 to 5 laymen don't need to know this stuff, or they won't put certain information out there because people may use it and try to corrupt people. And I'm going to start by saying, so that people can understand, man, and I say it all the time, even with scholars, even with students of knowledge, sometimes people hear what another scholar says, even from the past, and they will just agree with it without looking into it. Sheikh Albani seen it this way, so I go with that. Ibn Taymiyyah seen it this way, so I go with that. And even some scholars. And then some fall into that with that same mode, whatever their madhab that they choose says, without looking into it. So some of the opinion is out there, because people will start to go look, well, where's this in the Quran? Where's the hadiths on this? And then they can't never find them, because some of that stuff, like sometimes when modern day issues started to come about, you had scholars who filled in the blanks, and they was added to a madhab. It may have been the scholar of that particular madhab, and then they may be of the opinion that this is haram or this is that, but there's no prohibition of it in the Quran. There's no prohibition of it in the hadith, right? And there's no prohibition of it from the Salaf as-Salih. And some people from the Salaf, when you use the term Salaf as-Salih, you have to be careful, because not be careful, but in understanding it. Because some people, during the time of the Salaf, for instance, you had like the Maturidis, you had like the Ash'aris. So somebody who you may be considered to be Salafi, a member of the Salaf, they may see them as a deviant. Okay? So that's not the Salaf as-Salih to them, because these was companions, or these was people who didn't follow what the Ash'aris started to follow, or what the Qadriya started to follow. So they have their version of who the Salaf as-Salih is also. So, and then who they consider to be amongst the Salaf as-Salih, certain Salafis might consider those people to be deviants. Okay? So when you don't know the difference, and then unfortunately some people who ended up being in particular madhabs may had some of their rulings and some of the things that they seen could be from the influences of some of those said groups. Just like when you do a deep dive and see that some of the imams from the 4 madhabs prayed at graves. Where did this influence come from? And they all from the Salaf. Some people exclude Ahmed ibn Hanbal, and some people don't. But that's neither here nor there. They was all from the Salaf. Where did this influence come from? Praying with your hands by your side and different things. Where did these influences come from. So I just wanted to break that down and say all these particular groups. So like when people don't really understand what Ijma truly is, and everybody's saying, oh, well, the Salaf Salih, the Salaf Salih, each group have who they consider to be the Salaf Salih. So if you don't really know how to dig and going to really go and look and for yourself, and unfortunately now, like they have this thing we call AI is going to pull up maybe what's the most articles written, or what's been wrote the most, or what's been put into the internet space. AI is just going to generate what's talked about the most, but that don't mean it's the most accurate information. So I'm gonna break down. So like you may see, especially if you Google, it may say that maternal and paternal, for people who may not know, maternal means anything on the mother side. Paternal means anything on the father side. So if you go through Google, or if you look at particular madhabs, and you will see where they say, for the sister, any maternal male can't be their wali or their wakil. And you may see things where some people, you may even see this in certain books, where particular scholars or the person who translated somebody else's book, and let's say he's Hanafi, but he's translating it, but by him being Hanafi, he's going to put the Hanafi opinion in there. If he's Shafi'i, he's going to put the Shafi'i opinion in the book. And these are facts. These are facts, right? But a lot of people don't know that. They're going to put it in the English translation, and the author, the actual person, may it have been Ibn Taymiyyah, may it have been Imam Tahawi or whoever. They didn't have that in the original Arabic book, but the translator, or sometimes they'll put it down in the bottom as a footnote, but this be from the madhab that the translator chose, right? So I'm going to break it down so people that can get an understanding of what really comes from the Quran and Sunnah, and so that you can understand why these particular scholars start with the paternal thing and where this opinion come from. Because this what the Rasul said? No. Okay? I'm going to explain one thing before I'm going to use the Hadith. I'm going to use certain books from Sharia, but we're going to start with the Hadith, because we know the Quran. Everybody know the Quran says that, the men are what? The maintainers and this and that of the women. And when it comes to the affairs of children, rights start with the parents, the mother and the father. So when it comes to a person's daughter getting married, the father has the first say so. Just like if it's a different situation and it's on the mother side, the mother has the first say so. These are their children. Even right now, it's a lost thing, but even amongst the kuffar, certain things that have survived when they used to do what they call courting, right? So when a man wanted to court a woman, as they used to use that term, or when you seeking a woman's hands in marriage, what did you do? Even if somebody end up being your girlfriend and you may have not met the parents yet, because y'all may be in different cities or whatever, but what's the first process? The man has to go ask the father for his daughter's hand in marriage. So even in the kuffar, in their system, you go to the father first. I love your daughter. I wanted to know if it's okay with you if I married her. If it's okay if we start the court to lean towards getting married and starting a family. You go to the father first. Okay? So with the jurist, by the father having the first right over his own daughter, if the father due to whatever circumstances isn't around, passed away, in prison, right? Moved on to another state city during times when they didn't have cell phones or house phones or any forms of communication other than letters, or before they had mail systems. We can write letters to people or these type of things. What do? Okay, since it's the father, right, then the next should be his father, which is his grandfather. So that's why they stick with the paternal side and say that's first. This is the jurists that came up with that order. Because like I say, when certain things wasn't written in stone, sometimes the imams of those times filled in the blanks. You understand? So you have to also, and then see how did they come up with it. So you have to look at the history, because sometimes they just did what they did before they became Muslim, what the people was doing before they became Muslim. And so you have to look at that and see what they did. So that you had more than one custom, because before Islam you had some tribes, because they was broken up in a lot of tribes. Some tribes, some region, they preferred the maternal uncle, right? So even like us, if you look in these days and times, a lot of us, if we have uncles on our mother's side and then we have uncles on our father's side, right? A lot of us don't really have those close relationships with our father family. We don't know a lot of our cousins, or but because you usually live with your mother, and like a lot of people, they're usually closer with their mother's mother when it comes to their grandparents, because you always with your mother. So her brothers, they used to consider the mother's brothers to be like a second father. So some tribes, some regions preferred that you go to the mother's brother first, the mother, your maternal uncle, because he's like a second father. And for some of us who know and understand that, some of us be closer to our mother's brothers than our father's brothers. This isn't every case, but in a lot of cases it be that way. So this was viewed. So then in another view, they went paternal. This is before Islam, right? So in Deen, the thing that you have to understand the most when it comes to a Wali or Wakil is really about who has the most Islamic understanding. You understand? And this is where Wakil comes in place. But let me read this hadith so that you can understand how you need to go to understand how it went. So I'm going to read a hadith, right, that was narrated by Aisha, and we're going to use the version that's in Sahih Bukhari, right? Because this is your strongest when it comes to the Sahih. So look at this right here, and this is how you have to pay attention and understand how it went, because this is a very close view of what was going on. So look at this, right? So so this was narrated by Urwa bin Az-Zubair, the daughter of Az-Zubair, right? So Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, okay? So this is where she heard it from. Aisha, the wife of the Rasulullah, may Allah be pleased with both of them, told them that before Islam, in Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic days, there were there were 4 type of marriages, right? So this is the Arabs, this is their region. They partaked in 4 different forms of marriages, right? So she said one type was similar to that of the present day. So what us Muslims is doing is from one of those type of marriages that came from pre-Islamic days. Okay? So now you get a look of what the marriages should look like. So what she says was, one type was, from those 4 types, we partook in one of those forms of marriages. The way the Muslims do now is what they did, right? And what she says was, a man used to ask another man, right, for the hand of a girl under their guardianship. Okay? Whoever has the rights to be her guardian. Father, brother, mother's brother, cousins, grandfather, whoever is the strong male from that family. Because they had tribes. One of them may have been a tribal chief. And then a tribal chief, everybody went to the tribal chief. He may have been the guardian of all the women. But they went to a man who had the rights to be the guardian. But they're not excluding anybody from the mother's side. Any men that come from the mother's side. So then it continues to say, or for his daughter's hand. So like it says, they went to any male who had guardianship or directly to the father and asked for their daughter's hand and gave her a mar, and then they married her. Okay? They had a nikah, which nikah technically means sexual intercourse. I've even seen where it be translated to the F-U-C-K word to give some people a better understanding. We generally translate it as contract. And I'm throwing that in there because then you can start to see where sometimes when they see contract and this and that, where it can kind of distort the meaning to where people have these strange marriages. Right? So then it says that was the first type. That's what we have now. You go to a strong male who may be the guardianship, who may be a Wali or may be a Wakil, which a Wakil is supposed to be appointed by the Wali. Okay? So, or you go directly to their father. In this country, where it's a lot of sisters who's non-Muslim, who became Muslim, but their family is still non-Muslim. So sometimes finding the right person can have some difficulties. And even where it break down, because we don't have Sharia-based court system. So, after it breaks down, then it goes to who would be considered to be the Amir, the Mufti, the ruler of that Muslim land, that Muslim area. We don't have that here. So then it'll break down to the Islamic courts. We don't have that here. So then it's supposed to go to the Imam of the Masjid. But it needs to be a real Imam, not somebody where things just fell apart and somebody who's willing to give the khutbah, an accidental Imam, okay? Which is what we have a lot of. So anyway, that's the breakdown. But here, it can become difficult. And when people don't understand or don't understand the system, they almost leave people in a position of falling into fornication. Because we have no system set. And then you have, like I said, you hear people say Salih for Salih, but you have to know, unfortunately, what group they come from, because everybody consider they own people from the Salih, because all other Salih didn't agree. And that's why you have to understand the true meaning of, original meaning of ijma. From the Sahaba, what did the Sahaba agree upon? Okay? And then you know what to go with. And then you have to be able to look at what they went with. Because they didn't all agree on every single issue. Okay? Because some things was left open. Like, for instance, disorder. So, by her saying that, you either went to a man from their tribe, their region, whoever had the rights to be guardianship, or you went directly to the father. It doesn't say it had to be paternal. It doesn't say it had to be maternal. And this is something that they picked up. This is something that they did this before Islam. So like she said, when we became Muslims, we still did that form of marriage. Okay? And then like I say, when you look at it and you dig into the history of it, they were split. Some groups from the Arabs and non-Arabs, depending on the region, they went strictly paternal and excluded maternal. And then some went strictly maternal and said the maternal because the men on that side of the family, they closer with the moms, and they are like second fathers. The brother of the mother is closer than the brother of the father. But then it also say, but a lot of these situations was where the child strictly just lived with the mother, really didn't know the father. So when you see the people who came up with these lists and this and that, some of this came from what was already going on before Islam. It may have been something that their grandfathers practiced, or their great grandfathers practiced, or their family. So once they started to add these type of things to their madhab, this became a ruling. Some agree with it, some didn't. Some right now, some agree that it's haram for your mother brother to be the wali of a sister. But all I'm saying is Quran and Sunnah doesn't exclude them. Alright? So then it says the second type was that a man would say to his wife, look at this, he's already married to her. So keep in mind, nikah, a man would say to his wife after she had become clear from her menses. So once her menses was over, he would tell her to go find so and so, a particular man, and have sexual relations with that man. So a man would tell his wife, go to this person and have sex with him. This was another form of a nikah, right? Her husband would then keep away from her. Keep in mind, and it's saying he was already her husband. So these give you a terminology of nikah. Anyway, what it's really meaning. So her husband would then keep away from her and would never sleep with her till she got pregnant from the other man with whom she was sleeping. Okay. When her pregnancy became evident, her husband would sleep with her if he wished, and her husband did so, let his wife sleep with some other man so that he might have a child of noble breed. So basically this other man may had, he was a noble person. So I want you to go get my wife pregnant. Then when she gets pregnant and I know for a fact she's pregnant, then I'm going to have sex with her and claim your child so that I can say I have a noble child. And this was considered a nikah. Look what else it says, right? So such marriage was called al-istiyah, right? So another type of marriage was that a group of less than 10 men, well, another type of nikah was a group of less than 10 men would have sexual relationships with a woman. So less than 10, we're going to say 9. So 9 men would have sex with a woman. Okay? Taking turns, 2 at a times. You know what we call it. Okay? So look at this. 9 men would assemble and enter up on a woman. 9 men were less than 10 on a woman. So it could be anywhere from 2 to 9, 3 to 9, 7 to 9, 6, any up to 9. More than one. Right? They would all get together and have a sexual relationship with her. If she became pregnant and delivered a child, and some days had passed after her delivery, So a little bit of time after she gives birth. She would send for all of them, and none of them would refuse to come. And when they all gathered before her, she would say to them, "You all know what you have done, and now I have given birth to a child. So it is your child, O so-and-so," naming whoever she liked. So out of those 9 men, whichever one she liked the most. And when you look at the history, it was sometimes based off of nobility. Whichever one of them had the most money, whichever one of them had the most status, whoever had it going on the most. You the father. Whether he was the father or not. Then you had to think, you had to look and see where Shaitan plays a role in this, because why not just start with the one who had the most going on? And then you know for a fact he's the father. Okay? Go in a room, have sex with 9 men, and keep doing this until you get pregnant. And then once you get pregnant, you call all 9 men and say, "Y'all know what we did. After the baby is born, y'all know what we did, but you got it going on the most. You're the father." This was the third form of a nikah. So then look at this right here. See how the Shaitan play a role in it? Right? So then it says, right? You are the father, and so-and-so, naming whoever she liked, and her child would follow him, and he could not refuse to take care of the child. You the father because I said you are. So then the fourth type of marriage was that many people, so more than 10. So when it was less than 10, this was the third type. Now it's 10 or more. Okay? The fourth type, where many people would enter up on a lady, and she would never refuse anyone who came to her. It could have been 50 men, it could have been 60 men. She didn't turn down none. Look at this. Keep in mind, this is before the Deen of Islam. Right? So she would not refuse anyone who came to her. Those were considered to be the prostitutes who used to fix flags at their doors as a sign. So they would put a ribbon, they would put something on their door as a symbol. Anybody who want to come in here and get free sex, 10 men at a time, 20 men at a time, 30 men at a time, today, tomorrow, the day after that. Right? So look. And he who wished could have sexual intercourse with them. So they had a symbol on their door, a flag, a ribbon. And if any of them got pregnant and delivered a child, then all of those men would be gathered for her, and they would call basically a person who was skilled at looking at physical features and saying, okay, you got the same eyes as this one, you got this man lips, you got this man nose, y'all got the same feet, y'all walk the same. They brought in a person who was specialized at that, right? And to them, and he would let the child follow the men, and she would let him adhere to him, and he called him his son or his daughter. So even right now, you have some children who come out and look exactly like a person. Then as they get older, the features change. Or you have people who claim a daughter or a son 18 years, 19 years, 20 years. And then for whatever reason, they go get a DNA test and the kid don't even be theirs. So how many times did this specialized person take a few dollars to come say, y'all got the same hair, y'all got the same ears, y'all got the same fingernails, this is your child? Okay? So this was the fourth type of nikah. Right? So Aisha describes that what we do now was the first kind. So that lets you know what it looked like. Whoever was a male guardian who had the rights to be a guardian, whether it was her maternal uncle, maternal cousin, or, you know, whether it was the paternal uncle, paternal cousin, paternal grandfather, maternal grandfather, whoever was a strong male that could step up and give this girl hand in marriage, or they went directly to the father. So that's still what it should look like today. So just saying that to say, the exclusion of the maternal side of a woman's family didn't come from Islam. It didn't come from Islam. Well, I'm going to say it didn't come from Quran and Sunnah. It didn't come from Quran and Sunnah. You had jurors who filled in that list. But these was formed because you had particular groups who, like I said in the beginning, you had particular regions, particular countries, they went paternal. Then you had particular tribes, particular regions, they went maternal. And then you also had where, like what Aisha is describing, whoever was the male head, however they did it, whoever had the guardianship, if the father wasn't there. So that's just to explain, the maternal wasn't excluded in Quran and Sunnah. Madhabs did that. And all madhabs don't agree with it. The Hanafi madhab, they don't agree with that. Okay? And like I said, sometimes when they filled in the blanks, they went with the custom that was going on before. Because what was the most righteous? Because there's Sirat al-Mustaqim. There was deen, there was a way to practice this deen laid forth from Adam. So sometimes they took what was religious based and not tribal and shaitan based, just like these other three forms that Aisha named, that they partook in their regions. Okay? And you know, some people and some of their parents who accepted Islam may have been the result of these forms of nikah. To where, you know, less than 10 men came and had a 10 or a 9-on-1. And now you're considered the father, the person who she liked, who had it going on the most. For whatever reason she chose. Or more than 10. You know? These forms of things. This stuff is shaitan based. That isn't righteousness. So they didn't choose that. We're not going with that. And had they did, you know, Allah Azza wa Jal would have sent the correction down. So that's the foundation. That's the foundation of how it's supposed to go. The father first, who has the most rights. So with the father who having the most rights, it starts with him. Now, let's say for instance, the father isn't Muslim. The grandfather is Muslim. Nobody on the father's side of the family is Muslim. But the mother's side, the uncle, may be a sheikh. He may be a scholar in Islam. What sense do it say, well, because he's a scholar in Islam, and the father, the whole father side of the family is non-Muslim, although he's a scholar in Islam, he doesn't have the right to be her Wali. We got to go find this person at the masjid who's an accidental imam, and he has more rights than her uncle who's an actual scholar. Her uncle who's a real student of knowledge, a graduate, even if it's with a bachelor's. That don't even sound right. Because as long as the stuff there, and this is why the person who said something to me, that's why they had the issue. This doesn't sound right. But like I say, everybody don't know this, everybody don't understand this, everybody don't know how to look at it. Some people only know what they've heard, what they may have seen in a book, what they may have Googled, and what a madhab may say. They don't know to go look at the foundations. You see? And then they don't know how to look at the madhabs and see where they agree and where they disagree. And that's why some will say this is an issue where you can have a difference, because where do you see in the Quran that it prohibits the males from the mother side of the family? You don't see it. Where do you see a hadith from the Rasul or an athar from the people around the Rasul that excludes and says it's haram if the mother side of the family, a male from the mother side, is the girl Wali, even if he's Islamically sound? So even if it's her father, but he's not Islamically sound, he's not more Islamically sound than the mother's brother or the mother's father, which would be the girl's grandfather. So now the way the situation would go is he's the Wali because he's still around as the father, but he doesn't have the Islamic knowledge, or he's Muslim but he doesn't really practice right. He don't really pray. He pray here and there. He don't fast. He fasts here and there. He may fast a couple of days out of Ramadan. He's not really what you consider practicing, and he may not be righteous. He may be in the streets. He may whatever criminal activities that people race deals in. Whether they be white, Indian, Arab, he may be a hooch salesman. But then the girl's grandfather may be a strong student of knowledge. So the way it's supposed to go is, even though it's her mother's father, he's supposed to appoint him to be his wakil, his representative. This is my daughter. I know my daughter, but I don't have the Islamic knowledge to test this man that wants to be with my daughter. So I'm going to appoint you to be my representative, which makes him, her grandfather, the wakil. He's not going to be the main wali because the father is still alive. The father is still in the picture. He's Muslim. He's just considered to be a mujrimun. So you got to be a sound mind. And see, you have to understand, man, when they say things about sound mind, this isn't my opinion. If you're a Muslim and you're a mujrimun, technically you're not considered to be sound mind. If you're a Muslim and occasionally you eat pepperoni sandwiches, so a salami Subway sandwich, you're not considered to be sound mind. If you're a Muslim and you dealing with all type of different intoxicants, pills, alcohol, marijuana, different smokes, you're not considered to be sound mind. Okay? If you running around doing this and that, and it's your lifestyle, not something you fell into in a moment of weakness, but it's your lifestyle, you're not considered to be sound mind. So that's why I say it got to be a man who's sound mind in the family, in her family, cousin, brother, uncle, grandfather, father. They have to be of sound mind, and they also have to have enough Islamic wherewithal to know, okay, this dude ain't Muslim. This dude done tricked you. Okay, he can recite a little bit, but you think he's a student of knowledge. No, he's not that. These is the things that has been mixed. So due to this and the breakdown and people not understanding, this is why we have difficulties in some of our marriages, and some people representing them the right way in order to get them married. Okay? So let me read, let me touch another hadith, right? Well, this is just another, this one is in Sunan Abu Dawud, which is the same hadith that I read. So it's in more than one book of hadith. Just to give you an understanding of what it looked like. Because Aisha is saying, that first form is what we do now. You go to the strong, sound mind Islamic male in the family. If the father is present, but he's not of sound mind, and or he don't have the Islamic knowledge, then he can appoint another person to represent him that's stronger than him, whether it's from the mother side of the family, right? Even if he's not a family member, whether he's a student of knowledge, whether he may be the person who's an imam or an accidental imam, but he's still more sound than him. And they go at it together. I'm here to, you test his knowledge, and this include her son. Because her son, if all these things fall apart, but she has a son who's, son, because Islamically what they consider a grown person isn't what we do. Once they reach the age of puberty and different things like that, okay, Islamically I'm not all that sound. I don't have enough of life experience. But this Muslim man, this imam, I'm the Wali, I'll appoint him as the Wakil to check the brother out. Right? So when it comes to some of these rulings, so now I'm finna go into this because some people need to understand some of the rulings, whether paternal, maternal, sometimes with some madhabs it's based off whether she's a virgin who's never been married, or she's still a teenager, where she's reached the age of puberty, but she can be married, but she may not 100% be a virgin. Let's say, for instance, you have somebody like in America, the way America is. She may start having sex. She's not Muslim, but she may start having sex at the age of 12. And now she's accepted Islam at the age of 16. But she's been having sex since she was the age of 12. Now she's Muslim at the age of 16, and now she's understanding the marriage process. Although she's not a virgin, but she's still young. So sometimes she won't be considered to be a matron because she's still, to our laws, underage. Okay? So some of these ways, and the uncle, this, and this, and she might not. So choosing a representative for a young girl or a virgin, sometimes this form of strictness is for them. Now she's of age in her 20s or 30s, they can not do their own nikah, but they can choose, even though the young girl is going to choose themselves. But let me read the hadith so it'll make more sense, right? So in this one, this one is referred to as a woman acceptance of marriage, because you have to understand, during those times, some of those marriages were arranged. Okay? Even to this day, some people in India and Yemen and some areas, some people don't even meet the person that they married to until the night they consummate. Like, haven't really talked to them. They may have got a chance to look at each other and just different things, but the marriage has been arranged. Okay? So like it says, Allah's Messenger, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, said, no mature woman, right? A matron, someone with experience, someone with children, someone who's been married once and had an extensive form of marriage, not the marriage lasts 2 weeks, but that still would qualify her, a mature woman of age that's been married, that has children, right? Can be given in marriage until she has given her instructions, until she's given her input, until she looked at the person, right? She has say so. You may say this is a perfect person for her. She could say no. Just like right now, a brother can bring an imam or somebody who's considered to be somebody wali or wakil, bring a brother, hey, I feel like this is a good brother, you need to marry him, I'm going to marry you off. The sister could say no. Nah, this is what I want. This is what I want, this and that. Now, if she find a brother herself that meet that qualification, but he may say no, you can't say no. You have to do the nikah. I want to marry him. And then if he refuses, you can go get someone else. So understand. So like some people, oh, sisters can't do that. You don't have the right to do that. You have to sit there with this person who's considered to be your wakil, say no to a brother that you want. You can't go get another person because I said no. That's not true. So then look what it says, right? And no virgin woman may be given in marriage until she has given permission. See how there's a difference? One, instructions. I want this. This is what I want. I found this person. He's a good person. I've did different investigations. So they asked the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the virgin girl, how does she give permission? He said by remaining silent. She isn't protesting. She isn't like, because like more the hadith, well, what if she's shy? So then as it continued, right? I asked Allah's messenger about a virgin girl whose family want to give her in marriage. Should her consent be requested? Allah's messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her, yes, she must be consulted. Right? Aisha said, I said to him, but what if she's too shy? So then the Rasul said her consent is her remaining silent. She doesn't say anything at all. So, although in this time, people don't just marry people off. I've seen where I knew two sisters, Salafi, from the Salafis that don't like anybody, who said one of them had the son, one of them had the daughter, they was the same age. When our kids get to this certain age, we're going to marry them. So they pretty much arranged, two women, two mothers, arranged the marriage of these two kids. Now the kids, if one of them said, if the daughter said, wait a minute, I don't want to marry him, they couldn't force it. But they was forcing it. They really didn't give the kids no choice. Unfortunately, the girl passed, so it didn't happen, but, sometimes people just come up with their own things, right? So then another one about a mature woman, a matron, an experienced woman, right? Where it said, did Abdullah ibn al-Fadl narrate to you from Nafi ibn Jubair from Ibn Abbas that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a mature woman has more right regarding herself than her guardian. Okay? So she has more rights regarding herself than her guardian. Some people going to disagree with this. Can she find her own person? Yes, she can. Can she go find a brother and present herself to this person? Yes, she can. Can she get to know him in a permissible way? Yes, she can. She don't have to be alone with him. They're going to have to be careful. Some people won't put this out because they scared that people may fall into sin. And they might. But in today's time, it's just almost impossible to monitor every single Muslim. And every situation, just because it may start off wrong, don't mean it's going to end off wrong. And I'm saying that to say because the way that the world is now, the way people meeting on social media, the way they doing this, and then they clean it up. They may stay away from sex. They may do this, stay away from each other until they find her a representative. You see what I'm saying? Until things go a certain way. Things are just going to happen a particular way. But do she have more rights? And then especially like a lot of these sisters who have men who representing them, they not looking for anybody for them. They see brothers, this and that, and they don't even consider the sister. But then they might consider the sister for themselves. You know, temporarily or permanently. Okay? So some people in these women, like I say, some of these women be having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some sisters be having like 9 kids. Been married 5 times, 6 times. You know, been married to the same brother and may married a couple of people 2 times, 3 times. May married like 4 brothers 2, 3 different times. They know what they want. You know, and see, the problem is sometimes they not sound mind. They think by being sound mind by what society considers to be sound mind. But Islamically, they don't be sound mind. So you do need some guardian. You do need somebody to this and that, because they may be looking for who got it going on. Who can do this. But anyway, so then a virgin girl, consent must be sought regarding herself, and her solid expression is her consent. So he confirmed, yes, that was narrated and it did come from the Rasul. So then again, another hadith from another narration, but also through the chain with Ibn Abbas, the Prophet ﷺ said, a previously married woman has more right regarding herself than her guardian. A virgin consent must be sought. Her silence is her consent. Okay? And then another one. A married woman has more right regarding herself than her guardian. A previously married woman. A virgin's father must ask her consent regarding herself. And her consent is expressed by remaining silent. Her silence is the approval. So, just a little bit of explanation from Imam An-Nawawi, just basically break down how some of the madhabs disagree, and due to these hadith, this is why the Hanafi madhab, they go as far as to say a woman can go do her own nikah in a Hanafi madhab. You know what I'm saying? With no guardian, with no nothing. But the person who she's marrying may be her, take on the role of her wali or her wakil. You can actually marry your own ward. That's why, like in Islam, some of the people guardian, whether the girl had maybe been an orphan or this and that, who they was over, and they was their legal guardian, they could marry them. This is in Quran and Sunnah. A person can marry their own ward. Right? So, and one of the hadiths that they use, a very long hadith, not only them, but there's a hadith, a lot of people know, they take a lot of different benefits from this hadith, where, and this I'm reading from Sahih Muslim, right, the explanation of Imam An-Nawawi, where there was a woman, and I talked about this hadith in a few videos. She came to the Rasul. She seen the Rasul. She presented herself. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I'm presenting myself for marriage to you. But she was someone who had been married before. Where was her guardian? The Rasul took a look at her, looked her up and down, checked her out. And then, he just didn't say anything, but you could see his disapproval. So another person was there and said, I'll marry her. Marry her to me. So once he said that to the Rasul, then the Rasul, what? Ended up becoming her representative for this nikah. So that's why they say when there's no this and that in order, the Amir can become her wali. There's no Amir, then a judge in a Sharia court can become it. There's no Sharia court, there's no judge, then it break down to the Imam. So some of that ruling came from this hadith because the Rasul was all of those things. So the Rasul married her off, but the one thing about it doesn't make clear whether she had male representatives in her family or not. Okay? So then it goes to the hadith about how, the arrangement, what did he have to give as a mark. So some, because of that, some from the Hanafi madhab say, one, women can approach men and say, I'm interested in marrying you, whether they know him or not. Some say the woman could do her own contract, the Hanafi madhab. But the thing is, there's actual dalil for this. Some who know these dalils will say, well, we're going to say this can't be done because in our region, people may run rampant and women just might start choosing and turning marriage into mutas. I'm finna marry him real quick. Okay, I married him. I didn't like his sex, this and that. Now I'm finna ask for a kula. Which does happen. So some people won't discuss certain rulings because their areas. Right? And this is what caused confusion. This is what caused confusion for a lot of people. You have to understand where these things came from, why they got put into place the way that they did, and why these decisions was made. And sometimes these decisions was the best things for their time and for their region. So like even when this book right here, referred to as Sharia law, when it speaks to each individual madhab and their position towards it, with these women, with this. And one thing, when you start to go to these older books, they don't have that structure paternal only. And then it even goes in to say, if you live in a region where, if you live in an area, if you live in a state, you live in a city where the common custom is the maternal uncle first, you can go with that. If you in an area where they do paternal, you could go with that. But it's more that come in place. Are they sound mind, and are they practicing enough and have enough Islamic knowledge to really represent you the way that they should? Because the term nikah and the way it's translated into marriage contract now, and this is the part I wanted to get to and I'm going to close on, because in the English we always see the word contract. Now you have people who use that term contract as a bargaining tool. I'm finna come to the table and I'm going to say, in order for me to marry you, I want an allowance of $100 a week. I want all of my bills paid, right? And I want all of my luxury bills paid. Okay? These different luxuries. I'm renting furnitures and beds, fancy stuff from renter centers, and these different luxury things. I have credit cards where I done got jewelries and purses and all this different stuff. These luxuries. You have to pay my credit card bills off. Even some who may have student debt, where I've seen situations, you need to pay off my student loans. Things that they accumulated before you met or you agree to this. So now, okay, I got me a husband. I'm finna go apply for some credit cards. And now you got to pay my credit card bills too. These luxury things. So they bring it as a bargaining tool. This is a contract where you agree to partake in all of this for me to be your wife. And then he sit down and say, okay, I agree to that, but and because we're adults, we are adults, so I'm gonna say certain conversations that I'm privy to where the man said, okay, I agree to that, but mandatory oral sex whenever I ask for it, even if it's every day of the week. Oral sex every time I ask for it until I climax. 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, unless I refuse one. So you have to come ask of my choice. Okay? Of my choice. Not you fixing me what you feel like cooking. Not you cooking. You come ask me what do I want to eat for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. And I want, when you wash my clothes, what goes in the drawers, I want them folded. I want my socks did a certain way. And then what goes in a closet, I want what I want in my closet, I want it ironed and hung up in the closet. Okay? So because the term contract is there, they use that term contract as a bargaining tool, as opposed to we finna come together and be husband and wife and both do what it take to make our life comfortable together to chase Jenna. It's a bargaining tool for who can get the most dunya. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if you don't feel like cooking, I'll cook. What you feel like eating? What you in the mood for? You know what I'm saying? We want to go out to eat. What you feel like eating? Oh, well, I'm in the mood for pizza. Well, I'm in the mood for chicken. Let's just get some pizza and chicken. Okay? Whatever it takes for them to come together and keep their lifestyle as halal as possible and using it as a means to chase Jannah. That part has disappeared. That part has disappeared. And people using Islam as a bargaining tool for dunya. Because in English they use that word contract. So now you have people, the first thing they look at is, what am I going to get out of it? How am I going to benefit the most by giving the least? If I don't feel like cleaning up, I'm not going to. If I don't feel like washing dishes, I'm not going to. I don't care if a week go past. I don't care if 2 weeks go past. If I don't feel like cleaning up, washing clothes, I'm not going to. But you still gonna give me this, or you still gonna give me that. Or if she had to pay her own credit card, I pay my own credit card this month. I ain't doing no cooking. You cook for yourself because I pay my own credit card. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Oh, she ain't cook. I ain't paying her cell phone bill. I'm telling you, I've seen brothers turn sisters' cell phones off. Or they had kids and he was paying the children's cell phone bill and she didn't cook a couple of days. He turned the kids' cell phone off. Stuff like that. Turned the cable and stuff off. Was paying for like a table and stuff for Rent-A-Center. Sent the table back. Oh, okay, you ain't gonna cook? Oh, you didn't do my laundry? Okay, you washed the clothes, but you didn't hang the stuff up? Let's send it. You violated the contract. Let's send you this Rent-A-Center table back. These type of things. And that's why I'm saying, man, and that's why me showing what Aisha said, and you look at back in the days, they didn't consider a nikah as a bargaining tool for dunya. I need all this. I need all these luxuries. I need this. No, they came together, whether they was poor, whether they was rich, and they came together to make both of their lives easier. They both put it, the same amount of work he put in for her, she put that same amount of work into him, and they used their marriages as a means to get to Jannah. Not what they can get out of each other. And then use a term, well, it's a contract. You agreed to this. Although they violate the terms of what they agreed on. It's just unfortunate, man. So inshallah, man, this will help some people out, man, and get some type of understanding, man, and don't be letting people tell you because you have a uncle or a brother, because we have blended families, even though they had then. You and the brother might have the same mother, but y'all don't have the same father. So the brother that you have on your mother's side might be Muslim, but the brother you have on your father's side might be non-Muslim, or he might be Muslim, but he's not as thorough as the brother that you have with your mother. And then they sit up and say, oh, well, the brother who you have with your mother, although he's a student of knowledge, he's not qualified. He may be more qualified than the accidental imam, the person who's given a khutbah at the masjid, has more rights than your student of knowledge brother because it's your mother. That's not accurate. That is not accurate. But anyway, man, and like I say, when you look at Sharia law in the masjid, like they say, whatever your region, what's the custom of your states, those things should be taken into account. But it all need to be Islamic based, man. And like I say, man, due to a lot of people not understanding the Wali process, the Wakil process, even with a person marrying the person that he's the Wali or Wakil for. Some people just don't understand these processes, and because some people will override them and overgo them because they see somebody who's willing to fulfill a dunya contract with them. Okay, you're going to pay my credit card, you're going to pay all this stuff I got rib on, you're going to pay for my renter center stuff, I got some stuff from here, 90 day, same as cash, but I already went past the 90 days. You're going to come in and pay all those late fees, all those interests, that interest. My kids, I got a certain amount of kids, they all need school shoes. You're going to agree to all of that. And, I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. And you can have me as your wife. But he can't say I'm gonna pay what I feel like paying. This is not what nikah is meant to be, man. It's not. All due to people misunderstanding contract. So we just man, we got an uphill battle as Muslims. We don't understand the process. We don't understand the guardianships. We don't even understand the marriages, man. We just out here winging it, doing whatever we want, and just trying to figure out ways to call it permissible. And then when we in situations that are permissible, Shaitan will play with us to not stay in them. We're going to bring impermissibility to permissible things. We just have an uphill battle, man, in America, man, and it's only getting worse. But anyway, man, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.